everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maddie, and today I thought it would be super fun to go over and review all of the books I have read so far this year. As you can see, I have this very large stack of books here with me, so there is so much to talk about today, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. So as y'all can see, I have my phone right here with me. I'm gonna go through each month separately and talk about each book I read within that month. So jumping right in, January and February, I actually did not read any books. I was in a slump for a very long time. Didn't really feel like reading these months, so the first book I read was in March, and that was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. The Cruel Prince is definitely one of my most favorite series ever. It's technically called the Folk of the Air trilogy. If y'all haven't read it, you should totally consider because it's definitely one of my most favorite trilogies ever. I think it is so incredibly well written. I love Holly Black, and all in all, I gave this whole series a 5 out of 5 stars. Starting off with The Cruel Prince, which is the first book in the series, I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, and I literally just absolutely fell in love with the series because of this book. It was the most perfect start to an incredible series, and I just never found myself getting distracted, bored, or just reading and not really understanding what I was reading. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a small summary for you guys. Okay, so Google says that The Cruel Prince, a fantasy novel written by Holly Black, follows Jude Dorr, a human living in Elfhame, a world with fairies. She longs to be a knight, but her father forbids her. It is a story about overcoming discrimination, as Jude is often bullied by the king's children, and especially Prince Cardan. So this is definitely considered a romantasy. There is a lot of little romances along in the trilogy, and I just think it just grabs your attention so well. I absolutely fell in love with every single character. I don't really want to say too much because I don't want to give too much away for you guys, but it is absolutely incredible, and you should totally consider reading the series. The second book I read in March was The Wicked King, which is the second book in the series, and as much as I really want to talk about this book, I can't really say much because it is the second book in the series, which means if I give you all a little bit of a summary, it would probably give away what happened in the first book. But I will say that I also read The Queen of Nothing, which is the last book in the series, and then after that I read How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories is actually kind of a novella that covers one of the main characters' life throughout the series and his point of view and how he grew up, and it really just solidified the story perfectly. It was absolutely perfect. If you haven't read the series, I definitely recommend it. Next in March, I read the Red Queen series. I read the first book by Victoria Aveyard, and I rated this actually a 3.5 out of 5 and a 4 on Goodreads. This is what the first book looks like. I absolutely love the design of all the covers in the series. I think it's so cool. I love all the different crowns. I love all the different vibes of the crowns. I think Victoria Aveyard is such an amazing author, but I did not love this series, I will say. I know it is so popular, but I fell out of love with it in the second book. I thought it was boring. I thought there was not enough dialogue. There was more just like explaining what was happening and not really showing me, which for me as a reader, I find that really boring. I don't like to be told what's going on, and I like the author to show me through dialogue, through character interactions. I feel like she couldn't keep my attention, and that's something that's really obviously really important in a longer series such as this series. There is 4 books, and each book gets a little bit longer. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all a little Google summary because I don't want to spill too much about the series. Okay, so Google didn't really give much, so I'm just gonna go ahead and read the back of the first book. Mare Barrow's world is divided by blood, those with red and those with silver. Mare and her family are lowly reds destined to serve the silver elite, whose supernatural abilities make them nearly gods. When Mare accidentally discovers a power of her own she didn't know she had, the Silver King is forced to hide the impossibility of her power and pretend she's a long-lost silver princess betrothed to one of his sons. Soon Mare is drawn to the silver world, where loyalty and desire can tear you apart and the only certainty is betrayal. And before long, her actions put into motion a deadly and violent dance, pitting prince against prince and Mare against her own heart. So it is definitely more of like a dystopian vibe. I mean, it is a fantasy, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was like the Cruel Prince series is. I thought the first book was actually pretty decent. Sometimes it was hard to follow, but it was definitely better than the second book, which is Glass Sword. This book absolutely ruined my perception of the series. I didn't love it. I thought it was way too political. I thought there was not enough romance, I guess. I felt like I wanted more. I felt like it was boring, just too much war, not enough dialogue, not enough interactions between characters. I don't know. I just felt her writing style got really confusing in this book, which really just bogged the whole series down for me and made me just completely fall out of love for it. I give this one, I think, a 2 stars, but the next book after that, this book, King's Cage, I felt like kind of saved the series. I enjoyed this one a lot. I thought it was really good. I just thought it got way more interesting. The plot line was so much more interesting than the second book was, and I felt like her writing definitely got a lot less confusing, which is really nice, but still I just didn't love the series. Her writing style, I guess I just can't relate to. I felt like she just left me wanting way more from the series. But yeah, so that series I actually finished in April, but there is one more book I want to talk about that I read in March, and that is The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. Now, if you don't know, Lisa Jewell is like a mystery kind of thriller author. She has a lot of themes of just struggle. She has a lot of dark themes. If you aren't really into like a dark thriller, I would not recommend her books because they're definitely a lot more adult. She has a lot of really dark themes in her books, so if that is too much for you, I wouldn't recommend her, but I think a lot of her books are definitely very manageable and very well written. Her plot twists are so well done. She's one of my most favorite authors, if not my most favorite author. I'm definitely an adult thriller girly. So this book, I don't have it with me because my stepmom is actually borrowing it right now. She is about to finish it, but I'm gonna find a Google summary for you guys. And this one, I will say I rated a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. On a beautiful summer night in a charming English suburb, a young woman and her boyfriend disappear after partying at the massive country estate of a new college friend. 1 year later, a writer moves into a cottage on the edge of the woods that border the same estate. Known locally as the Dark Place, the dense forest is the writer's favorite area for long walks, and it's on one such walk that she stumbles upon a mysterious note that simply reads, "Dig here." This book is absolutely so well done. I thought it was very relatable because a lot of the main characters were in college. It had a lot of flashbacks to, you know, their college age, partying, going to class, stuff like that, which I felt like I could relate to, which definitely made this book an easier read for me because a lot of her other books definitely have more adult themes. I mean, she is an adult thriller author, so that makes sense. I would definitely recommend this if you're interested in reading one of her books. I did give it a 4 out of 5. Anyways, now that we've already talked about some books that I read in April, let's go ahead and move on to the other books I also read in April. So first off, starting really strong, I read the first book in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. This book I can most certainly confidently say is one of my most favorite books of all time. This has definitely very quickly become my favorite trilogy. I am obsessed. Like, this book got me into Brandon Sanderson, and I know that he is such a well-known, incredible adult fantasy, also YA fantasy author. He is so well renowned and so many people absolutely adore him, and I absolutely get the hype now. My boyfriend has been wanting me to read these books for the longest time, and I finally did, and oh my gosh, I felt like this was what I've been missing. This is what I've been looking for in my fantasies, y'all. I can't even describe to you how well done this book is. I'm gonna go ahead and read the back summary for you guys if you are interested. Once a hero rose to save the world. He failed. For 1,000 years since, the world has been a wasteland of ash and mist ruled by the immortal emperor known as the Lord Ruler. Every revolt has failed miserably, yet somehow hope survives. Hope that dares to dream of ending the empire and defeating the Lord Ruler. A new kind of uprising is being planned, one that depends on the cunning of a brilliant criminal mastermind and the determination of an unlikely heroine, a teenage street urchin named Vin. I know I've already said this, but this book is absolutely incredible. I need everyone to read it. It is so well written. His vocabulary is so easy to understand and yet feels so distinguished, feels so smart, I guess. I can't get enough of him. I want to read all of his books now because it is so good. The character on the front, this is Vin. She is the kind of like the main character in the story. There's a lot of other main characters. There's a little crew of main characters, and they're all so lovable, so easy to relate to. They're also different, which I think is so just cool to read about, and their character interactions are so fun, so relatable, feels like found family. There's definitely some hints of romance in this novel. It's just perfect mix. Just so much packed into this book that is so incredible. So I definitely recommend this if y'all are in a little bit of a fantasy slump and need something that is just so well written and so well done. This book I rated 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, and yeah. Moving on, I already talked about Glass Sword, which is the second book I read in April. I rated that a 2.5. And then King's Cage, which I also already talked about, was in the Red Queen series, and that was a 3.75 out of 5 and a 3 in Goodreads. I felt like I couldn't give it a 4 despite the fact that I rated it 3.75. It felt wrong to give it a 4 in Goodreads because I just didn't like it that much. And then the next book I read in April was Mistborn Book 2, which is so incredible, y'all. I know I already talked about this so much, but I can't even with the series. Look how beautiful this cover is. I still need to get the beautiful cover for the first book because if y'all cannot tell, these do not match at all. Really bugging me, but I talked about that in my last video, how I was gonna buy that in Barnes & Noble, but I think I decided to get it during my birthday time so that can be something fun that I can go do for myself. But yeah, so this is the second book. It's literally absolutely stunning, so well written, also a 5 out of 5. This I think was my favorite in the series just because I just liked the characters in this book and their interactions more than the first one. I don't know. I think the first one was absolutely perfect, but this one just did something for me. It like itched my brain where I needed to be itched. I just can't really explain it. It was just so good. So this one I would say has more romance in it, which maybe is why I liked it more. The first book was a lot of world building, a lot of introducing characters, a lot of like their initial interactions, and this one they were finally like comfortable together and we could really just dive more into the story and more into like the way the universe worked, which I thought was really cool. I rated that on Goodreads a 5 out of 5 and in real life also a 5 out of 5. And then after that book I actually read my first Lauren Asher novel, which was Love Redesigned. I read this because I had read so many fantasy series in April. I think, yeah, literally every single other book that I read in April was a fantasy except for this one and then another Lauren Asher book. So this was definitely a book that just kind of, I just needed in the moment and it itched my brain perfectly. It was exactly what I needed. I love a good romance with a good plot. Like I love spice, but at the same time I need my book to not be completely spice. Like I need a good plot, but at the same time I'm a girl that needs some spice. I thought that it was just so fun. And if y'all can see, but there are some translations in the bottom of the pages because they don't always speak English, which I thought was really cool. And I thought that was such a fun little addition. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and give you all a little summary. So Julian and Dahlia are the main two love interests. They definitely have a little bit of a rough past, but Dahlia is an interior designer and she owns her own company called Dahlia Designs. And then Julian, the male love interest, is a billionaire and he actually owns I think it's like a construction architectural sort of ordeal. Like he flips houses, but he also owns a bunch of houses. I think he's so fun and so easy to relate to. I love the way he interacts with his family. I think their banter is so perfect, the way that they fight together. This is the first book in the like Front Billionaire series. Look at this cover, y'all. This is absolutely so gorgeous. I think this just came out in like last November or something. It was definitely last year, so this is very new, but her next one is coming out very soon, so I'm so excited. But yeah, so I definitely recommend this for sure for anyone who just needs a good little easy to read romance story with some perfect just playful banter, such fun interaction, such fun characters. Their moms are so cute and they're like best friends, which I think is precious. And yeah, I just really loved this book. It filled in where I needed it to. And that one I gave a 4.25 out of 5 just because it didn't get that 5-star feel, but it was still so well written and so fun. And yeah. And then after that I read Warstorm, which is the last book in the Red Queen series, which I did already talk about. Definitely a good end to the series. I felt like that's what the series needed, but I still felt myself wanting more, and I actually rated this one a 4 out of 5, which was so much better than the other books. I thought it was probably the best. I know I said I liked King's Cage the most, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think I liked the last one. It was definitely a good end to the series. It was much better than the other book. It was a lot more entertaining. I liked the character interactions in this book probably the most, and I just felt like it kept my attention the best, and it was the longest book, so kind of impressive. And then after that, the last book I read in April was The Fine Print, which is also Lauren Asher book. I liked this one more than Love Redesigned. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And if y'all don't know, this is the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series, which is so popular right now. So if you haven't read it and you're a romance girly who likes some spice, definitely go read it. I definitely thought it was really interesting how this book was set up. The main male love interest, his name is Rowan. He actually inherits kind of a part of his grandfather's company, which is called Dreamland. Kind of like Disney World vibes, which I thought was so fun because I am such a Disney girly. I definitely ate it up. He meets this girl named Zara and she is part of the faculty at Dreamland. She actually does hair and makeup for little girls. It just kind of follows their story and how his grandfather ties into the whole park, how he ties into their relationship. It's definitely more of like a enemies to lovers sort of ordeal. I just thought their banter was so fun. I thought the way they interacted was so cute. The spice is kind of a lot, but it's really good, and I feel like that's just how it is in Lauren Asher books. She definitely has some spice in there, but it is just a perfect tie off to the story, and it really just emphasizes how much they want each other. I gave it a 4.5 because I thought it was better than Love Redesigned. I just felt like my attention was kept and it was literally just perfect, and again, definitely romance that I needed at the time. Moving on to this month, the month of May, I read Mistborn Book 3 by Brandon Sanderson, and this was the end of the series. Y'all, when I say that this was the perfect end to this series, I mean it. Like, y'all need to read this series. I can't. Y'all need to read the series. The last book was so well written. It was just so mysterious. It was kind of hard to understand, but at the same time, it's like if you didn't pay attention to the other books, you wouldn't understand it, which is right up my alley because I am such a detail girl. I love the details. I love having to pay attention to every single little thing in the books I'm reading because it all ties together at the end, and I just thought it was so cool. The slow burn of all of the books and the slow build up to the end was just perfect, and once you read the very end of the book, book, you understand why the books are so long and why he says what he does, which I just think is like so fascinating, and it just blows my mind how he's able to build the worlds that he does. It was absolutely amazing. I am kind of really sad because I am gonna miss those characters so much. I definitely cried at the end of the book. I felt really emotional because I just felt like I was so connected to the characters. So if you're really looking for a fantasy that you want to connect to and something that is just so well done, definitely read any Brandon Sanderson book out there, but especially the Mistborn series. I felt like I could relate to it because the main character was a girl, but also she had some romance, but also there was found family. So yes, that was the first book I read in May. This is the cover. This is what it looks like. It's literally so beautiful, and y'all, I just love the covers of these books. They are so gorgeous. So that is all I have read for the beginning of the year. We are a third of the way through the year now, which is absolutely crazy to think about because I feel like 2024 just started, but I am so excited to read more books this year and to be able to talk about them with y'all. I will definitely give y'all a May reading wrap up. I think that is going to be so fun to record and so fun to talk about all of the books I'm going to read this month now that I'm home for summer. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.